Hello, everybody. Welcome to Libertarian Front. My name is Joe Palmetto. I'm your host. I'm an attorney in Pittsburgh, PA. Today, I want to talk about the United States strategic shift away from Europe and President Trump's stance on the Ukraine and Russian war, and how that kind of fits into, let's say, a libertarian world view. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I would like to grow this channel, and liking, subscribing, commenting, sharing is a free way to support this channel, feed the YouTube algorithm, and help to get me a bit more views and attention. So, during the most recent presidential campaign with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, there was a very stark difference in their positions between Ukraine, right? And Donald Trump's kind of been like, we need to stop the killing. It's almost like a humanitarian point of view. He just wants to stop the war, stop people from dying. And he won the election, and he's come into the election, and he's trying to make a deal, make it quick. And it appears from recent speeches by J.D. Vance, the Vice President, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and the things that Donald Trump has said, that he doesn't have any real clear guidelines for or goals to achieve from the Ukraine-Russia war. He just kind of wants it to end. And that's stark contrast to what the Democrats and Joe Biden would have offered, right? Because Joe Biden has been sort of unequivocal in their support, saying what Ukraine wants, what Ukraine needs, we will give. And most of the money that has been sent to Ukraine, the billions of dollars, has been in equipment transfers, ammunition, etc. There has been real cash that's been sent to Ukraine as well. Recently, Donald Trump had a long conversation with Vladimir Putin, and Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance made some speeches that appear to signal that the United States is not necessarily willing to spend the amount of money and effort and perhaps even sanctions on Russia that it has over the war, which started, I believe, in 2021 over the last 3-4 years, or 2022. He signaled that, again, he's just not that interested, and that he wants to make a deal, and the deal could be favorable to Russia, in the sense that Russia would get a lot of territory, and sanctions would also be removed. Whereas Ukraine has been of the viewpoint that they want much stronger security guarantees if they're going to make a deal. They don't want to just give Russia all the territory that Russia has won, and Ukraine wants to create a peace that guarantees its security and perhaps guarantees the security of Europe as a whole. And one of the things Ukraine has been pushing for is NATO membership. And Donald Trump has pushed back on that. He says maybe sometime in the future, but if we're going to cut a deal here soon, it's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to be a part of the deal. And, removing NATO membership, I think, really kind of pulls the rug out from under Ukraine, or at least what Ukraine wants. Because that would be maybe the strongest security guarantee of all, that Russia won't turn around and try to fight them again in another year, 2 or 3 years. So it appears that Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and this war has been a bloodbath going on for multiple years. It's no longer so much a war of tactics or strategy. It's a war of attrition, and it's coming down to, there are, of course, tactics and strategy, but it's come down to who has more men, who has more weapons, who has more money to win this war. And so Zelensky has signaled that, he's not really on board with what President Trump has proposed, that it appears that people feel, and maybe he feels, that, he's being left out of the process a little bit, and the United States is engaging in sort of direct negotiations with Russia to some degree. And maybe this is exactly what Vladimir Putin wanted. And considering this is a war of Russian aggression, he shouldn't be rewarded for everything that he's done or what has happened. And so I don't know exactly what's going to happen next. Of course, none of us do. But it appears to me that Donald Trump, at some point in time, my understanding is the money from the United States is still going. There were prior guarantees. But over the next course of a year and a half, and there's no reason to think. I mean, I think you can think about this war on 5 to 10 year horizons. Look at how long the Vietnam War lasts. Look at how long the United States was in Afghanistan. Look how long the Soviet Union was in Afghanistan. Right, this war is bloodier than those wars, but it's got some lasting power. So you have to think on a longer horizon here. So it appears that at some point during the Trump presidency, this is I don't know what's going to happen. This is what I'm seeing. The United States is going to stop funding all the weapons and support that it's given to Ukraine. And the Ukrainians are not going to agree to any of the proposals that the United States and or Russia are putting forth. And so Zelensky has sort of signaled that. So what Zelensky's doing and what appears Europe is gearing up for is he's going to the other European nations and saying, help me. And this I believe. And although I do believe Russia was the aggressor in this particular battle, I don't think it's as clear cut as perhaps the mainstream media has made it over the last few years. There's a lot here between Russia and Ukraine, but what the United States is going to do is stop feeding Ukraine, and Zelensky is going to go to the rest of Europe and say, help me, you help me. I guess I've seen these news reports. I don't know how accurate they are, but Russia plans to put, I think, over 100,000 more troops into Belarus. And, there's indications that they're gearing up for a greater war. As much as Russia has been an aggressor, I really don't think that Russia is going to attack a NATO country, not directly. I think that would be a bit crazy. He is running like these low-level sort of harassment tactics at the Western countries, but a true attack that, say, try to take Lithuania or Latvia or Estonia or Finland, I don't think is in the cards. But he's certainly gearing up. I mean, Russia is gearing up into becoming basically a military war machine. And Ukraine is also a military war machine at this point in time. But the rest of the European countries are not. And the rest of the European countries, I think, are, they, as Zelensky said, when the war first started, they were more reluctant than the United States to support Ukraine. But now that tide has turned, right? The European countries have turned their attention much more in favor of Ukraine, whereas the United States is kind of losing interest in the battle. Now, so what I was going to say before was from a libertarian perspective, what is this development? What is happening? Well, the United States, the lifeblood, the subsidizer of NATO, for many years, these European countries didn't even hit their 2% for their requirement, their commitment to NATO. The United States is taking a step back. And so now it's actually finally forcing these European countries to reckon with the world as it is, and to turn their money and turn their attention to their own military, their own security issues. And in my opinion, this is something that probably should have happened a very long time ago, because since World War II, right? I mean, we're talking over 70, 1945, 70, we're at 80 years at this point since the end of World War II. The United States has been the deterrent and the security guarantors of Europe. and the United States pulling away from Ukraine. And although I don't believe Donald Trump's going to pull out of NATO, he has talked a lot of smack on NATO. But pulling away from Ukraine is going to require Europe to step up. And from a libertarian perspective, this, right, the fountain of money has been cut off, right? Daddy's dollar is gone, right? So what is this going to do? It's going to force Germany, France, the United Kingdom, Poland. Poland's already geared up. But even countries such as Italy and Spain and maybe even Greece. Greece is a bit of a smaller country. But it's going to force every country in Europe to take a hard look in the mirror and decide what they really want to do to defend Ukraine. Now, the line during this entire war has been the United States they must have the United States to defend Ukraine. But that's simply not true. First of all, France, the United Kingdom, Germany, many of these countries had great armies of great military powers in the past. The United Kingdom has multiple aircraft carriers. There's not that many countries in the world that have that. The Germany has, I think, over 60 million people. The United Kingdom as well. So the combined population of the European Union is larger than the United States. The combined GDP of the European Union, even minus Ukraine, is larger than the United States. So does Europe and do Europe and Ukraine really need the United States? And the answer is no. If the countries of Europe unite, and they're already united in an economic unit with the European Union and also to some degree militarily through NATO, if they unite and they all increase the amount of spending and weapons that they are sending to Ukraine, Ukraine doesn't need the United States if they wish to continue to conduct the war as they are. The countries that have given the most by percentage of GDP, my understanding, are like Finland and Latvia, the Baltic countries, Poland. They're the ones who have dealt with Russia in the past. But if Germany and France and the United Kingdom and Italy and even some of these there's smaller countries that punch above their own economic weight, like the Netherlands and even Denmark, if they increase their support for Ukraine, then I think Ukraine could go on conducting this war as they are. Now, is that something that Ukraine wants to do? Perhaps not. And it might give Ukraine. And so the United States pulling out may give Ukraine the political cover that it needs to make a deal that might not have been politically viable just a couple of months or a year ago or towards the beginning of the war. But it's forcing, the point I wanted to make today is the United States pulling away is going to force Europe to rearm, to force Europe to take their own security seriously, which is something that should have been done a long time ago. If they truly believe Russia is on the doorstep and is coming for them, then Germany needs to substantially increase their spending on their own military and their support to Ukraine. France needs to do the same. France kind of already seems to be there. The United Kingdom needs to do the same. Spain and Italy need to take a long look in the mirror. And the countries that have kind of woken up are Poland, are, the Baltic states, are Finland. Those countries are already doing as much as they can. I think the future may show that Poland will become one of the primary, if not the primary powers in Europe. It has the population to support and I believe they have a younger population than some of the other countries in Europe, like Germany, Italy, or Spain. So they have the population to support a great army, a great military. And so, if the United States pulls back and Europe has to step up, long term, that's a positive development for Europe, right? They no longer have to subsidize their own defense. They will defend themselves in the future. And Russia is surely not the only or the last threat that Europe will face. And it's going to force Europe to be self-sufficient, which from a libertarian point of view is a good thing, so that the American taxpayer isn't subsidizing the defense of a continent that is an ocean away, at least not to the degree that they have for 70 years, 80 years at this point in time. So I'll talk more on this subject. Thank you everybody for tuning in. My name is Joe Palmetto, so Libertarian Front. And I hope you, I'm trying to find a bright, I'm looking at all angles here. And I think that may long term, Europe becoming self-sufficient militarily and politically is a good development for Europe, for Ukraine, for the world. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, share. I will have more to say in the future. Thank you very much. Goodbye.